Everytown for gun safety, which is like your retarded wine mom aunt who thinks that like lay heckin' guns are bad and only police should have guns, but she also at the same time hates police because her, you know, TV show sitcom told them that police are like all animals or something like that.
Well,
But
that's
this
the
is
supporters. This is really just funded by Michael Bloomberg.
oh yeah. Yeah. Everytown for gun safety support fund. So this
Bloomberg?
is Bloomberg. That's a silly sounding name. So this is to the general counselor at Sturm Ruger and Co. Dear Miss Colbert, on behalf of Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund, we write with respect to an urgent matter of public safety. As Ruger is no doubt aware, certain handguns, most notably pistols made by Glock or others copying the same design, have been easily modified into machine guns, which is illegal, we don't care, that fire fully automatically with the insertion of a readily available but illegal. I wouldn't say they're readily available. Like, it's mostly Chinese websites. Let's be real. It's basically only Chinese websites and retailers that are shipping these en masse into the country.
The irony is they're mostly coming in through California.
Oh, yeah. Any of the big ports. Machine gun conversion device. The frequency of shootings with such pocket machine guns has skyrocketed in the past several years by a certain group of people. Instead of shunning such a design, Ruger appears to have run towards it, designing its new RXM handgun introduced in December 2024 to mimic a Glock and to be customizable with the same aftermarket parts. As Ruger must have known, introducing such a design into the marketplace risks exacerbating the proliferation of illegal machine guns on the streets and further endangering American lives. Now, this sort of mentality only ever gets used against the Second Amendment for the most part. Like, most people wouldn't say, I mean, cars are readily, very easily modifiable to quote unquote be illegal, right? If you cut off your muffler, it's illegal. If you cut off your catalytic converter, it's illegal, right? It's no longer illegal for street use. So just because they're easy to modify in certain ways, it's completely retarded, right? They should not have liability because somebody else does something to modify, not from the factory, modified, even if it's quote unquote easy to do, because being real, Glocks are quite easy to modify to accept these switches by design.
Yeah, it's really easy to put a plug in your seatbelt latch or put a beer in your cup holder. Like, cars are modifiable for
readily modifiable. Well, I mean, unfortunately for the sober drivers out there, they do commit almost 70% of accidents. They never tell you that, but sober drivers are responsible for almost 70% of accidents, yet they continue
don't like
to discriminate.
Man. Statistics hurt sometimes, dude. Facts don't care about your feelings, right?
Yeah. It's true. It's true. But they continue with this. Now, this is from Everytown for Gun Safety, which they're lying retards. So this isn't a trustworthy source, but if true, kind of a big problem. In recent days, reports have indicated that Glock will soon be pulling its easily modifiable pistols from the market. That we already know is true. Allegedly, we're going to get Gen Vs like next week. They're allegedly already on. Oh, yeah. They are already on their way to dealers is the news that we have right now. Yes, this is also my face when talking to the board of directors at Everytown for Gun Safety. Glock will soon be pulling its easily modifiable pistols from the market. A second company, Shadow Systems, which is another big one, is reportedly doing the same. I could not verify this anywhere, so I have absolutely no idea. Now, Shadow Systems had said that it was working on an update for the California market because they also got kicked out of California along with all the other Glock clones, basically. And since Shadow Systems is a big supporter of California, they make a lot of money in California. So I guarantee you that Shadow Systems is working on an update for California, and it would be possible for them just to roll that update out to all of their pistols, right?
Did they not just get introduced to California? I think I remember Josh saying something about that.
SHOT Show 2025, they had all their California models out. So like in January, it was this year, basically. I wonder how all their California compliant models, which they spent a lot of money in development, and I'm sure they sold a lot.
I wonder how this change is going to affect the current lawsuits that are going on.
Well,
like, are they still going?
The 16 states that are suing Glock for having their guns, quote unquote, easily convertible, I imagine the changes will mostly end those lawsuits, right? But I think Shadow Force, or sorry, not Shadow Force. What's Shadow Force? Shadow Force. Oh, Shadow Force is our homeboys, Shadow Systems. Sorry, Shadow Systems sees the writing on the wall and is like, this is going to be a big problem. This is going to be an issue for us. And I think Ruger is next in line. I think it goes Glock, Ruger, Shadow Systems, Zev, because Zev's so expensive, and then a few of the other really cheap ones. PSA is probably somewhere in there, 2, 3, 4, whatever position they're in. But I think all of these guys are on the chopping block. And if Shadow Systems and Glock completely redesign their guns, I think Ruger and PSA are going to be next to do it. And I think Gen 3 Glock clones will actually become a thing of the past, which is crazy to think about.
Yep. Shadow Sisters enjoyers are on life support right now. It's
Well,
really
really,
tragic.
Really, I just see this as a big win for MNP because we also just got that FRT backplate for the MNP 2.0.
Well, yeah. That's are you an MNP cultist?
Yes, I'm actually. Well, I have one with me right now.
Oh, very nice. Well, I mean, I think MNP, they've been taking a lot of wins lately, you know, not having to completely redesign all of their handguns, not having to take everything off the market. And with the SIG shooting themselves in the foot, literally and metaphorically, every 5 minutes, Glock having to completely redesign their stuff, I think it's a big opening for the Smith & Wesson cultists out there. MNP gang, rise up.
You literally, to be successful, you just don't have to have bad news about you. Like that's the thing. Is like there's just nothing, no bad press for the MMP line.
There's always one of these guys, though. Somebody out there always says FN 509. I've never seen one of you guys out in the wild. I don't think I've shot a single competition around somebody who had an FN 509.
That's because they sell them after a while.
Yeah, it's like, or they just sit in their safe or something. They never
I've
actually
heard
shoot them.
rumors. I've heard rumors of people who own FN 509s. I've never seen any.
Yeah, it allegedly exists, right? Hey, I did not say that, huge ass. Yeah, there's another MNP cultist. PDP, yeah, Walther's looking pretty good right now. Yeah, Walther PDP is still out there. Yeah, Ray Guitard 509 is the worst trigger ever. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if
Nobody
it's like
can-
over
yeah.
for Glock, right? Like, there's going to be
No.
another Glock FRT, and that's just going to replace, the Switch, basically.
See, that's the thing that I dislike, because the way that this is framed is if you get sued enough, everybody has to adjust their design, right? Because by this same token, like a drop-in auto sear for an AR is not particularly complex, and you can probably get them off the same Chinese websites, right?
I think they
So
actually
by-
reference that in here.
By that logic, like ARs are next on, like, and Glock is a big company. Shadow Systems is not that big. So
John,
Shadow
can you-
Systems is
can
like,
you-
I can't, like, Shadow Systems can't fight them legally. Guns
you
don't
ma-
make that much money, right?
Can you-
These guys
can
are
you-
making like
I'm sorry.
10% margin. Good.
I was going to say, can you just imagine if, like, the law comes out and it says all full auto bolt carrier groups are now nixed?
So that was a theory as well. Companies will just go back to semi-auto only carriers.
Yeah. There
That
was a time where that was
mhm.
a lot more common. It's almost unheard of now.
But you could see that flip, right? And
Yep.
then you'll see companies selling you a full auto carrier, right? And that's like, ooh, it has a full auto carrier in it. That's what I want. Heck yeah. That's the one right there. But
As I said, I think either in this document or in a different one, they do actually mention drop-in AR auto sears. It is probably on their war plan to go after that, to get the most popular ones in America, just because of this readily convertible win.
well, and that's the thing, is that they're essentially winning, right? Because they're never going to get any money out of this. That's not their point. Their point is to damage the gun industry, right? They don't care about, winning or actually getting the things off the street or getting some sort of financial incentive out of it. All of these funds are simply to actually cause damage to the average American. Because is this going to do anything to stop inner city retards from being inner city retards? No. Not at all. It will not stop them one bit. They don't know how to read articles like this. All right. This isn't going to affect them one bit.
I would love to see a long-term study. Now that the FRT era is supposedly going to be, or the Switch era is going to slow down allegedly, because this is totally going to work. I'd love to see a long-term study that shows like shootings that involved a Switch versus shootings with a semi-automatic gun. And I would love to see the fatality rate, because I feel like
Well,
feel
there
like
is
it's less lethal.
concentrations in specific areas.
It's probably less lethal with the Switch. I'm just gonna guess.
Yeah, but every now and again, I read an article and it's like person killed by, you know,
Stray
stray
Yes.
bullet from a switch, and it's because instead of firing 5 rounds, he fired 15 rounds in,
Well,
you know, 2
they
seconds.
hold it sideways, they flip the switch, it goes off, and then it sprays across the horizon.
But that's not. I don't know that you could say that's necessarily a result like of the switch. That's just them being negligent. But like in actual intentional shooting, I wouldn't be surprised if there's less casualties overall.
Well, they target people who are like out on basketball courts and stuff.
Well,
right?
so here's the thing. I think that you can probably make that argument both ways, right? However, I think that with these guys, their accuracy doesn't change, but the switch allows them to get off more rounds, right? Because these are not like talented people, right? Like it is quite literally accuracy by volume. So if they can get out 20 rounds, 30 rounds in the same time that they could get out 5, I think that it does make these idiots more dangerous. Dangerous to themselves as well.
This is all just a ploy by BlackRock to keep housing low in some areas so they can buy them up cheap.
Buy them up cheap to get rid of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the article continues, this will leave Ruger as the largest U.S. manufacturer of a pistol that appears to be easily convertible into an illegal machine gun. This is where they're basically threatening them. And risks Ruger's RXM becoming the new crime of choice across the country, even though I don't think one has been recovered from a crime scene yet. While we are not aware of any public reports to date of modified Ruger RXMs recovered in connection with a crime, it is almost certainly only a matter of time, given the rising popularity of these conversion devices and weapons that support their use. Ruger claims to be a model of corporate and community responsibility, which is corpo speak for limiting our own liability. For that to be more than an empty promise, and for the reasons set forth more fully below, Ruger must pull the RXM from the market unless and until it changes the pistol's design. We call on the company to do so immediately. Basically, this is pull the pistol, redesign the pistol, or get sued. That's what this is.
And if these people had the potential to do so, they would force you to do a buyback system for these old models. They'd say, turn them in, boys.
All gone. They
turn
want
them in.
All gone.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ruger is a little bit more established than PSA, like to the normie. Like, obviously, PSA does more money. If I had to guess, PSA does more in raw sales. And certainly probably more sales to these types of communities, if you will. But I think Ruger does have a little bit more boomer name recognition and definitely has a lot more like history in the United States. So I think that PSA is next on the list. I think it's Ruger, PSA. I mean, I would put PSA above Ruger personally, but to these corpo journalists like who don't know anything, they might say PSA is below that. But it's Ruger, PSA, and then everybody else below them.
Didn't Ruger get sued after some mass shooting?
It's very possible.
That sounds very. I think it was like in the 2010s or something, and they got sued, and I think they had a payout or something. I could be misremembering the company.
Well, so more relatives of Colorado shooting victims sue Sturm Ruger. So I mean, it does appear that they have been sued in the past. District Court rejects Ruger's attempts to move civil lawsuits on behalf of survivors of the King Soopers mass shooting. So it appears that they're currently in litigation, like actively right now. At least as of last year. Nope, actually July 14th of 2025, that litigation is still moving forward. So they are currently under litigation, and I'm sure previous litigation as well. So
it hurts the company a lot.
I feel like every gun company is probably constantly in a state of being sued.
Well,
if I had to imagine.
Yeah, and especially the big ones. Yeah, and I mean, these are the type of people pushing it. It's all dark money from Bloomberg or such types, right, that are billionaire quintillionaires that have all the money and can do all the things and literally just litigate these companies out of existence. Something that I briefly mentioned earlier is that these gun companies do not run on high margins. The one that runs on the highest margins is probably Glock, right? Because their $200 pistol that they sell for $600 retail. They actually probably make the most money and they sell the most guns. PSA, Ruger, I don't know how Ruger is making money selling these for $350. Right? I don't even know how that's possible. So the margins are very, very tight. So as soon as you're spending even $1 million in a lawsuit, which is like lowballing, the stuff can take years and years and years to litigate. You're not making any money selling the guns. So you would have just made more money redesigning it. Right. And as a company, you have to survive, right? You have to actually exist. So I get why the companies, for their own survival, are switching up their designs, while we as the individuals, the civilians, would prefer they sit and fight it. Of course you fight it. Of course you fight it. It's like, right, but if you were staring down the barrel of $1 billion lawsuit, industry against you, you probably would change course as well.
I know there are a lot of the gun rights groups they normally stick to like criminal cases and things like that. I wonder if any of them have dabbled in this, in sort of defending a company against frivolous lawsuits like this.
There used to be a law against this.
Yes,
I mean,
but then Remington and Freedom Group folded after it was either Sandy Hook or Columbine, and it sort of set this precedent where you could just sue the manufacturer.
It was Sandy Hook.
Yeah. I mean, this is the precedent going forward, though, until there's some sort of landmark legislation that gets this to stop, right? And I don't know. I personally, I don't know how to get it to stop. It's got to be that. I looked down at Renan again, and I got flashbang by that. It was disturbing.
I'm the tortured souls of Jake's feet. When he talks about the soles of his shoes, this is what he means.
I do not consent to any of this.
Yeah, so as the Red Diacon says, Richard, there is law against this. Liberal district judges decided by fiat it doesn't apply because guns are bad. That's the thing. These guys, Glock specifically, was getting sued in, I believe, 16 states by their AGs. If the attorney general of the state gets to decide what laws do and don't apply to the company, like, you're screwed. What are you supposed to do? Right? You have to take it. You have to lose the case, win the case, and then take it even higher. Right? You have to escalate it after that. So you have to spend even more money. But yeah, when the judges interpret the law changes. Right? Which is, we've talked about this before. It's like you cross the state line, and the circumstances that will get you in trouble change drastically. Right?